and welcome to the 21st episode of Total Pop Mode, your weekly gaming podcast. My name is Will, and I also go by Hoodafunk, and I'm joined here by my good friend, co-host and fellow gaming enthusiast, James, aka Mr. Bames.
What's going on, you ridiculously rancid rabbits? Year of the Rabbit, baby.
Is it really?
Not quite yet. Whenever Chinese New Year is, it will be going into the Year of the Rabbit, though. So I figured, why not start the new year with rabbit?
A rabbit.
Alliteration, you know?
Do you have any New Year's, what are they called?
Resolutions. Also starts with R.
Yeah, I was about to say, Do you have any New Year's rabbity resolutions?
Rabbity resolutions? Don't know about that, man. I won't make that joke. Okay. I was going to make a Jessica Rabbit joke. But,
sexy rabbit joke.
Yeah. But you know, I didn't want to bring back bad memories of Mr. Furry for you.
No. Do you know what? I don't, well, I mean,
Do you know what? They weren't all that bad, those memories.
I like to think that I've blocked out a lot of that stuff, PTSD styly, but I don't recall there being rabbits in that. There was lots of dogs, I think. Yeah, there was lots, and
there was definitely a fox.
There was a fox.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, lots of
very veiny fox.
What do you call them? Sort of canine and
feline.
None of this is making the podcast.
No.
Probably not.
You don't want to talk about cat and dog dicks in like episode 1 of the new year?
No! God, please, no!
Yeah, like in the first, I don't know, like minute or two. No, we're not starting that way.
Oh dear. Although I do have to have a word with you about your introduction, bro. Do you really think that's enough gravitas for the champion of 2020? Do you really think this guy? Oh yeah, friend, co-host, fellow game enthusiasm, and the champion of the world.
Hey, well, I always give you space to do your own introduction, man. But you know, I left that open for you. Yeah. At this point, you are really drilling it home. Despite the fact that I am still yet to get you your belt, that is truly on me at this point. I have taken responsibility for crafting this belt, and I will get to it at some point very soon.
That's all right, man. I don't know how it is. Supply chains, forge equipment, you know, goes wrong a lot. Lots of heat, lots of cooling. Things expand, things contract.
Silicon just ain't what it used to be.
No. Although if you follow, you know, getting ahead of ourselves, one of our news stories might put that to bed a little bit, but still, we'll see.
We'll see. With all that said, James, let's crack on with the socials. You can, as always, find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you get your podcasts by searching for Total Pop Mode. We also post regular video content of our playthroughs, stream highlights, as well as the podcast on our YouTube channel, Total Pop Mode.
You can also find us on Twitter by searching for @TotalPodMode, all one word.
Or you can find me at Hoodafunk on Twitter, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/Hoodafunk.
And you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Bames, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/MrBames_TPM.
Okay, James, you know what time it is. Let's crack on with the catch-up. I'm going to hand over to you for the first part of the catch-up. What have you been up to over the last week?
So, over the last week, I have mainly been still playing Pokemon Violet because I decided it would be a good idea to start again, as I'm prone to do quite often.
You are
with
now
a lot
an
of
addict. You are in for the long game. There's no New Game Plus, right?
Well, I don't know. I've not finished the post game, so I don't know.
Right. Okay.
I doubt it. Don't get me wrong. But the post game essentially is then spoiler territory. But you know, complete the game, finish it.
Hey, at this point, play it.
It's been out a month, right? 2 months.
It's long enough.
Yeah, but when you finish the game's main story, all of the gyms reopen and you have to go around and challenge them again. But they've all got better, stronger teams. It's quite cool.
So it is kind of new game. It's kind of New Game Plus then.
It's more like revisiting what you've done, but they've all beefed up rather than starting again with what you've got and they're still same sort of thing.
Sounds like backtracking with more steps.
Kinda, yeah, because like for example, gym leader number 1, or the one you're meant to fight first anyway, has 3 Pokemon, all very low level when you first fight them. This time they have 5, all in like the level 65 to 70 range.
Right, yeah. What prompted this rerun of the game again?
I was just sort of thinking about it and I was like, do you know what? I don't like that the team I finished the league with was kind of piecemeal because I was trying to do Pokedex stuff at the same time. So I had 2 randoms in my party that I was just leveling up to evolve.
Right, yeah.
And that coupled with I did a few move sets quite inefficiently. I could have done better with stat training and stuff. I just thought, it, I enjoyed this game so much. I'm going to start again while I'm hyped for it. And I did, and I spent a lot of time catching Pokemon with the right natures I wanted, even though I am aware you can customize all this with mints and berries and and gold coins and not gold coins, bottle caps. Later on you can do all this, but I like to go old school with it, so I just did it. Caught the Pokemon I wanted with the right natures, the right abilities, all that good stuff, gave them better move sets, and I used the same 6 Pokemon sort of for all of the major battles, so they all have the same ribbons, they've all like, it's much cleaner, it's much nicer, and it just made me feel happy, so that's why I did it really. But good job I did it when I did, because I have now finished it again. I'm in post game.
Oh, you're actually in post game.
Yeah.
Twice
I finished it all again.
Okay, well done. Well, I guess well done. You've done that in the space of a week.
A bit longer than a week, right?
I suppose so. Yeah, it has been.
Touch longer than a week. So it was a labour of love, but I'm glad I did it when I did, because I'm not bored of it, but I'm quite done with it now. I think I'm probably now not going to play it much until, like, if at all, until DLC, which I'm assuming is coming. So
did they actually let you have separate save files for this one? So you
no,
were
don't be silly. No.
Oh, so you crazy.
No. Yeah, no.
So
since Generation 1, it's single save
your
file.
Progress. I was going to say it's been a single save file all the way to my memory.
Yeah, I deleted my game. Yeah, what was it? 100 and something hours, I think it was, when I. Oh, that might be what I'm on now. I don't remember. Let's call it 70 to 90 hours. The first file was probably, but this new file's better, so it's all good. It's what it is. But that's been really fun. Thoroughly enjoyed the game. Noticed a few more slowdowns this playthrough, gotta say, but I don't know how much of that is because my Switch was getting hot from how long I was on it. Like, genuinely.
Actually, I did hear that, and I heard that was an issue with Arceus as well. Actually, is that people were having quite a lot of performance issues the longer they were running their Switch. Yeah. And a lot of people were finding that performance did get better if they bothered to actually shut down their Switch, fully charge it, and then boot it up again.
Yeah, exactly. And I was doing sort of 5 to 7 hour stints. And aside from that, I jumped into Sex Hell, the Christmas game you got me, or one of the Christmas games you got me.
I've been waiting to hear how you got along with this.
Well,
how does it compare to Doom Eternal? Because that was the vibe I was getting.
Oh, dude, no, this game sucks, man.
That's a shame.
It is a bit of a shame, really. But the shooting is very light, very fluffy. Doesn't feel satisfying at all. There's no impact. Enemy AI is incredibly basic. Hitboxes are a little bit patchy. Not awful, but a little bit patchy.
What you really want in a shooting game, though.
No. The movement isn't delayed, right? But you can sort of, if you're doing a running jump and you just stop holding forward, you'll just stop dead. There's no momentum.
Okay.
So you just drop.
Right.
And that was, it's kind of, it's a cheap indie game. It's not, I don't expect the world, but I expect it to be a bit better than that.
Were the sexy, dirty cutscenes any good?
No cutscenes, bro. No cutscenes.
Okay, well, refund.
Disappointed!
But no, too late. I left it too late, mate. Beat the first boss, got an achievement for beating the first boss, was expecting to then be able to do some stuff as like a reward or see some stuff as like a reward. Nothing, just went straight to level 2. Go back to the main menu, there is a gallery section. Unlocked 3 pictures, all of like fully clothed women.
Oh.
So it's like, what? Like, that's not what was advertised.
Women or demons?
I think 2 of them were women and 1 was a demon.
Okay. It sounds all round disappointing. Maybe you need to play on. Was there difficulty on this game?
No, there was no difficulty. It was just go into this mission, do it. It was just very, very basic, kind of poor. Yeah, sorry.
I think you need to delve a little bit deeper into this, and I want to hear back on some deeper progress.
Oh, dude, I tried, man, and the issue is that if you die, there's no checkpoint system either. You go straight back to the start of the level.
Right.
And that's a pain in the ass.
Are they quite long levels then?
There's 3 missions. There's 3 missions that I can see. I think there's only those 3 missions. Level 1 was a reasonable length, nothing too major and very easy. Level 2, bit longer, more mazy, so like quite hard to get around because everything looks the same as well. And like I did unlock 2 new weapons. You start with a pistol, you then get an Uzi and an assault rifle type deal.
Yeah.
No, they all felt the same, so wasn't really anything like that was interesting. And as I say, the achievements are broken. There's an achievement you can get for killing 15 enemies, which I know I did because one of the first, like before you get to boss number 1, you have to defeat a wave of 16 enemies. So I know I did it. It didn't pop.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, just unfortunately,
bad experience all round.
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, but there is potential in it. The concept is fairly solid. Like I can see what they were trying to do.
Shoot demons and watch demon porn. I thought
exactly.
that was the main concept.
But they just didn't execute it very well, because you can shoot demons, but it doesn't feel very good, and then there's no demon porn. So what are you going to do?
Not jerk off to demon babes, I guess.
Exactly. It's a dry keyboard tonight. But yeah, and then the only other thing I've played a little bit. Oh yeah, I'll just move on. And then the only other thing I've played.
Dry keyboard it just got me. Dry keyboard tonight.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Yeah. Well, there's other games.
Normally that's that keyboard is slick.
That's nasty.
But yeah, no, then the only other thing I've played a little bit of is Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Okay, you mentioned to me previously that you played a little bit of that. How have you been getting on with it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good game still. I for context, I put in 100 hours just over in on Xbox and probably got about halfway through the game. Fucking huge game this is. I tell you, on PC, it looked lovely on Xbox 360. On Xbox One, right? It looked lovely, but on PC, it's just different level, man.
I bet.
It's beautiful. The loading screens are obviously way quicker because the world is actually, you don't actually go inside or anything like that. Once you're in, it's kind of like Red Dead in that regard. You're just in the world. So it takes ages to get into the game, but once you're in, it's quite seamless.
Still got to use that Ubisoft launcher though, right?
Yeah, but it's quite inoffensive, honestly. It's not too bad. I do understand the argument for people being annoyed by having so many launchers, and I kind of agree. I'd like everything to be in Steam or whatever, but it's not too bad, honestly. But yeah, still very good. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole 100% thing I was trying to do last time. I think I'm probably going to try and crush through the main story, because I never finished the main story when I last played it.
Right.
Probably going to try and crush through that. I'm playing it on hard difficulty as well, because normal was just way too easy even back in the day, and I'm a better gamer than I was back then. So, and honestly, hard's still pretty easy. I could probably up it a little bit, but I haven't done any super hard fights yet, so we'll see what happens. But yep, still enjoying it. The dialogue's still great. I love Greek mythology, so all of that stuff I'm here for. The story's still very cool. I just hope that I give it the time it deserves, because I was actually playing this a little bit before I started Pokemon again, and the idea was that I was going to try and finish this by now. But Pokemon then took over, so I hope that I don't lose traction with it too much, and hopefully I'll be able to at least complete the main story. As I say, I don't think I'm going to 100% it.
Can you remember where you put it down last time in terms of where you got to the story?
I'm really struggling to remember in terms of the main story, because I really was exploring the whole map and clearing all the islands.
You do one story mission and then disappear for 3 months of in-game time to
literally
explore every single landmark in the area.
Exactly. It's like, you must find your mum, the cult's going to kill her. And then it's like, yeah, I will do that, but first I'm going to explore Lesbos.
Yeah, I had that all the time in Red Dead Redemption.
Yeah.
I had my gang members just coming out into the middle of nowhere and being like, we haven't seen you in weeks.
Yeah.
Where have you been? You need to get back to the game and do some shit.
I've been busy.
So, okay, right. So you're taking the more of a beeline route this time with Assassin's Creed.
Well, yeah, because you can do all the shit I was doing when I last played it after you finish the main story.
Yeah.
When I went into it last time, I was in the mindset of I want to do all the side shit first so that I don't miss anything by the end time I finish the main quest, but that's not how this game works. So going to try and rush through it. Well, not rush through it. I still want to enjoy it and take my time, but I'm going to try and crack through it relatively quickly. And then if I still want to play afterwards, I can do all the shit I was doing before, because I haven't played it for 3-4 years. It'll give me even more time to forget about it all, because I have forgotten about most of it, which is nice. So that's me, man. That's what I've been up to for the last week or so. How about you? Hit me up.
This week, so I haven't been particularly getting into anything too new. Listeners of previous shows will be familiar with pretty much all of the titles that I'm going to discuss. So I've been putting a bit more time into Vampire Survivors this week. Although I did buy it on Steam, I have actually still continued to put most of my time into this on the mobile. The versions are very comparable. It's more like just a change of perspective from landscape to portrait, but the scale of everything remains very much the same. So I've yet to explore any of the DLC on the Steam version, but I've been just sort of progressing and experimenting a bit more with some of the weapon unlocks.
Nice.
So you might recall I think it's called the Peach Zone. It looks like a dove.
The bird.
Yeah, the bird that flies around you. And then have you discovered the black bird as well? That I can't remember what that one's called.
I haven't unlocked it yet, but I've seen it, if you see what I mean. I've seen it on the screens where it's like, yeah, this is a thing. It's like, oh yeah, but I haven't unlocked it yet.
Right. Yeah. Well, bit of a, not really a spoiler, but if you manage to get both of those power-ups, level them up to max, then it becomes like an ultra bird and it shoots rainbow energy everywhere around you. It's the way that you evolve the two of them together. So I've been progressing through that. I've also been trying to get the achievement for lasting until 31 minutes on the game. And I've also unlocked a few extra things along the way. So I've unlocked a hurry mode, which allows you to, essentially the clock just goes twice as fast, so the enemies pour in a lot faster.
Nice.
I've unlocked these, I think they're called like Arcana cards, which are kind of like random modifiers that you can get for the game. And that will do something like double the effectiveness of your healing items, or add a bounce to certain weapons that didn't have a bounce to them before, so they can start ricocheting off of objects.
It's like the axe, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It'll, add to that. So yeah, getting a little bit further into the depth of the game now, and the additional abilities that it allows you in the sort of later game is, I suppose, what I'd class this as. I've gone through pretty much all of the levels now and tracked down all of the items. It started to feel a lot less like a twin stick shooter and a lot more like a level game now that I've unlocked the map and things like that, so you can track down the items. And I've got some really cool powers now, like one that it pulls every single item that's in the surrounding area, including weapons that you can find on the battlefield towards you, and it does this every 2 or so minutes. So it essentially just groups everything around you and you're able to get an insane amount of power-ups all in a quick succession. Loving melting the enemies and running around against what seems like fairly endless mobs. And I did discover that you can kill the Grim Reaper that comes and kills you on the 30th minute. The Grim Reaper will come in and he seems pretty impossible. It is actually possible to defeat him as well, and then another boss comes in. So I'm looking,
and that's how you get to 31 minutes, I guess, right? Beat the Grim Reaper.
Actually, I got that by just surviving against him. I didn't actually manage to kill him. I haven't managed to kill him yet. I just discovered this week that that is actually a possibility. That's the next thing to tick off the list, I think. Now I've done the 31 minutes on a few of the maps, I need to go back and actually try and beat him on one of those.
Then you can do it all again on PC.
Yeah, yeah. And then get to the DLC, hopefully.
Yeah. Nice, man.
But I mean, we've spoken quite a bit about Vampire Survivors now over the last couple episodes, so I won't go on about that too much. I've also been into some DMZ this week, which I've been enjoying, and once again, we're back talking about Call of Duty again.
Yeah. Speaking of things we've spoken about a lot of over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Or months at this stage, probably, to be honest.
It is months at this stage, yeah. No, heavily invested in that.
That's
at the
good,
moment.
man. It's good that you're enjoying it so much.
You get these faction missions, and they include things like finding a special weapon and getting a certain amount of headshots against enemies, or extracting specific items like stim packages or certain different kinds of weapons or keys. And you'll also get ones that will say you need to complete the contracts on the map. One of them will be destroy the supplies or go drill a safe and take all the contents out. And those are the sort of objectives that you have to do, and they're kind of ambient around the map. But if you follow along the faction quests, you'll essentially have to do all of those things in order and do them a certain amount of times, and you progress with the faction, and eventually over time you can unlock more weapon slots. And those weapon slots are your insured weapon slots. And I don't want to get into this too deep because I have kind of explained this, I'm sure, on a previous podcast. But essentially, your insured weapons are where you can place your custom weapons. And if you die, they don't disappear. They just kind of are unusable for a certain amount of time.
Basically gives it a cooldown rather than actually losing the Yeah.
So you can unlock more potential slots for that. So I'm hoping to just sort of, prolong the amount of time I'm able to use custom weapons and not have to use the contraband weapons, which are just the ones that you can find on the battlefield and then extract and then bring back in. But if you lose them, they're gone forever.
And how many slots do you have? Is there like a limit to it? So like, for example, you could only unlock 5 custom weapons.
It's actually less. So the maximum
I was going to say, I would assume it would be less, but because it'd probably be 3 or something, I'd imagine.
It is. It's free, yeah. The amount of insured slots you can have is 3, but then you can have a maximum of 20 contraband weapons, I think, as well. And if you run out of contraband weapons and your insured weapons are all out of timer, if you spawn in, it gives you a random weapon, I believe. So they never really spawn you in without. Although I have taken to actually spawning without any weapons and taking along a throwing knife. So I always make that first kind of sneak in and take one guy down, take his gun and kind of go from there, sort of thing.
Just hope he's got a good gun.
Yeah.
This motherfucker's just got a pistol. What the hell?
Hey, it's happened to me before, and I've also done it where I've just got a guy with like a double-barreled shotgun, and I'm right in the middle of like some kind of Metal Gear Grozny Grad type of equivalent. surrounded by enemies, so it's not much use.
Good tactics though, I like it. Being a bit sneaky.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm really enjoying that. Playing with the other AI players is giving me a good opportunity to do some of that sneaking around stuff. The contracts in the game are quite difficult, and they send in a lot of heavily body armored AI players, and it also attracts sort of enemy players coming in, actual, you know, online people coming in and trying to steal your shit. So yeah, no, it's all round a really good experience, that, and just working my way through those faction missions and trying to get more weapon cases, which are these kind of things that they spawn on the map, typically within a stronghold, and then usually held by a juggernaut character, and they obviously have a lot of health, loads of body armor, and typically armed with a Gatling gun.
And is that always AI, or can that be human too?
It can be human on multiplayer mode. I think in DMZ it's just AI juggernauts that you get wandering around.
Makes sense, yeah.
And when you do manage to take out one of those guys, they drop a special weapons case, which has like a chance of giving you various different special weapon blueprints and things like that. But the issue with that is once you've collected that weapon crate off the juggernaut, you are pinged on the map to every other player until you extract, so there is that as well.
Yeah.
You usually, if you hear one and you see it's nearby, you might make a beeline for the squad just to see if you can get away with it and extract and take their
Yeah. Nice, man. Certainly promotes sneaky gameplay.
We should definitely get down and play some of that sometime. It's free, and it's probably one of the best things Call of Duty has done in a long time. So
yeah, music to my ears, man. If it's free,
it's free and it's good.
There you go. What more do you want?
And other than that, this week I've been continuing with my Stardew farm. I've finally gotten to the point now where the whole farm is essentially automated at this point.
Nice, that's good. That means you can get on with other.
Exactly, I can mine, I can interact with the villagers.
How's it going with your missus?
Oh, I haven't made any headway, I'm afraid. She continues to be unimpressed by my foraged flowers. I really need to work something out.
No, yeah, that's fair enough, man. Are you still hating on Pierre?
I am. He gets still his daily dose of my pond algae,
nice.
Only because every time I give it to him, it says that it makes him sick. So I've continued with that.
Good stuff.
Still getting on quite well with Linus, but we're keeping it pretty casual. We're just, I just see him as I'm on my way to the mines every morning, and if I've got a nice little parsnip or whatever kind of veg I'm currently growing for the season, I'll drop it off to him on my way down.
Nice, very good of you.
Although I have automated my farm, we're currently in winter, so none of this is actually any good to me because you can't grow any crops in winter. This is definitely the point in the year where it's time to start thinking about all of those copper and iron bars and time to upgrade your weapons and your equipment for the farm. So I'm kind of getting more into the crafting side of things now. I've started tapping some trees to get some sort of oak resin and tree sap.
Sorry, when you said tapping some trees, I just had this like image of you wandering around just like casually hitting a couple of trees like, oh, this one sounds good. Yes, that'll do.
Well, I mean,
like
I'll be completely honest with you, I had
tree.
that same confusion when I was on the Stardew Valley subreddit. Everyone was talking about tapping trees. I was like, I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know what tapping, but my head didn't go there.
It's like, oh, I'm tapping the tree to make sure it's ripe.
Yep, this tree is ready for harvesting.
Yeah.
So essentially I'm, at this point focusing most of my time on the mine, fishing in the winter because the old man in the fishing shack wants me to get him a squid, and other than that, I'm just kind of foraging because I'm starting to work on the community center, which is something in the game that apparently you're supposed to do. I know very little about it.
Depends on what side you want to be, yeah.
Well, I'm going on the community. If you're talking about whether you go down the Joja supermarket route, or I'm doing the community.
I think that's the canonical way to do it. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. You're definitely not motivated to do the Joja thing, but when you do go there, you need to sort of collect various foraged items that are around the map. Some of them are like seasonal berries or seasonal crops or specific flowers that you can only find in certain times of the year if you explore.
All those things for rebuilding a dilapidated building that are just crucial.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, core construction materials there. Yeah, and once you're done with that, something happens.
Berry.
Yeah, just getting 2 bits of wood together and just placing a parsnip between them and just hammering it together like that'll do. That's a chair now. So I'm not really sure what I'm achieving by doing this, but the game's telling me that I should do it, so I'll get around to it.
You'll see. It's worthwhile from what I gather.
But yeah, no. So up until that point, I'm just kind of waiting for spring to come along and to be able to grow some shit again because the farm is looking good. Well, I say the farm is looking good. The farm is looking very grim at the moment. In fact, it definitely needs some softening.
An elf waifu, maybe.
It needs an elf waifu touch. That's what it needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need some nice. My farm at the moment, it resembles kind of a concentration camp.
Just very
I'll
efficient.
go there.
Very efficient.
Extreme efficiency.
Yeah.
Pretty barren at the moment. Yeah. It being winter, pretty cold. You know, there's no livestock. It's just purely crops.
Nice and industrial as well. Lots of metal.
Very industrial. Yeah. The hoses.
No upgrades on the house whatsoever. All been spent on the farm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Really
the
nice.
house is literally just still the shack that you inherit straight away. And we just focus production on one crop. We grow one thing, and it's just whatever grows that time of year at the moment. So.
Hey, that's ruthlessly efficient. I like that.
Well, you know, I want to get the money. But
you don't need comfort.
It's leading my farm to look very bleak. Maybe I stick a photo up on the Twitter at some point of my current farm, and people can give me some suggestions as to what I need to do with it to make this look prettier. Because at the moment, it's pretty grim.
That's a couple of flowers, mate.
On that slightly bleak note, though, that is pretty much all that I've been up to this week, working on my farm, and it's not the Elf Sex farm, it's actually Stardew Valley, although, you know, I will concede actually that I do need to put some more time into Elf Sex farm, and I will endeavour to come back with a bit more information on that next week.
Yeah, and see if you can actually get a nice looking farm in that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that
God knows what crops you can get.
I'll just be absolutely swimming in unfertilized eggs. Is what I predict, and milk.
Thanks for reminding me about those.
And on that note, James, let's get on with the gaming news. This week, our first article in gaming news. In the recent issue of Edge magazine, Capcom sat down to chat about the anticipated Resident Evil 4 remake.
Certainly is anticipated, particularly over here.
Oh, damn straight, James. I cannot wait for this title to come out. The more and more I hear about it, the more and more I want this. And honestly, this article was extremely welcome news because essentially, producer Yoshiaki Hirabayashi has confirmed amongst the development team that there will be no cut content and will actually retain the original island section. In fact, there's even talk of the island section being specifically expanded.
Oh, interesting.
This is all really good news for me to hear that they are confirming that the content's not cut. Still a little confused why we haven't seen Krauser then yet.
Yeah.
However, the island being included in the game is indeed welcome news to me.
Yeah, and that was actually the point I was going to make, is the fact that this island is now being confirmed is included surely means the Krauser's in it. Has to. There's no point being on the island if you don't have the Krauser fight. It really is.
It is kind of the climax of the island, isn't it, really? Yeah, right before you get to the very final bit.
Right before you just shoot that guy with one rocket launcher and it's done. You have to do an actual good fight with Krauser, yeah.
Hey, you had to shoot him with 2 rocket launchers, remember? You had to shoot him with the rocket launcher that triggers the cutscene.
You're very true.
Then the game-ending rocket launcher. Resident Evil typically always has a game-ending rocket launcher.
You're quite right. I'm sorry that I disrespected the final boss of the game.
He took 2 rockets.
He did. 2 rockets and 2 magnum shots, even though one of them I didn't need to do.
There you go. That was just showboating at that point, just emptying unnecessary magnum.
Lack of knowledge, mate. That's all it was.
So, in terms of the development of this game, the producer, Yoshiaki, also mentioned that the development team was divided into 3 groups, with each group responsible for a different area to develop, those
Makes
areas
sense.
being the village, the castle, and the island. These teams work separately before coming together to see how each of them overhauled their section and how each element worked with the others. And I assume during this process, obviously, there would be a certain amount of sort of patching and ensuring consistency as well.
You'd like to think. I'm
sure there are some inherent risks with having 3 separate teams working on different areas of a game that would actually, you know, include the sort of the entirety of those areas, sort of thing. But I'm not really sure about the conventions and how often that takes place in video game production. But it's certainly an interesting way to do it, and it gives everyone, you know, the full ability to immerse themselves in that section of the game and make sure that they try and carry over and keep intact as much as possible. I would hope.
You'd hope so, yeah. And picking up what you said there, I don't know about development either. I know in testing that it's very common to do it that way. So like in the QA stage, you'd be like, right, you three go do the castle, you three go do the island or whatever.
This room's really broken. We need 10 people in this one room.
Exactly, yeah. But I don't know about development. I don't think it's uncommon to have multiple teams working on multiple sections of the game, but yeah, it's something I don't hear about too often. So it's certainly interesting to think about how that would work. And actually, it seems like quite a sensible idea, honestly. If you've got the base architecture, all the character models and stuff are consistent from the start, which I assume they'd have to be. You don't want one team having like a Leon with spiked up hair and
you get Leon, you get Ada.
Yeah, exactly. You can have Ashley, but no Leon. So what?
And we got to talk about Ashley's outfit.
Oh, 7 of them.
Oh, no doubt pre-order bonus content as well.
Oh, don't. But yeah, no, this is, as you say, it's good news that they're not dropping it. The island stuff should make the story flow pretty much the same, except for the robot Salazar, obviously.
Yeah, so, you know, well, I mean, this article seems to kind of contradict that, and that was some early news that I heard, so it will be interesting to see what really does make it over in this now. I'm eagerly anticipating the release of this title, and, you know, I honestly, I think I'm kind of out of the day one unless I'm really, truly feeling some serious hype, and maybe I'm getting a bit long in the tooth to ever really feel serious true hype for games. You'd think that a Resident Evil 4 remake is kind of like, there couldn't be much more that was more up my street than that, right? But I'm remaining skeptical purely from a sort of performance standpoint. For the time being, I will wait until at least, you know, the day one patches.
At least until day 2. At least until day 2.
I'm a day 2 guy these days. Yeah.
That's fair, man. I certainly won't be day one in this. I enjoyed Resi 4, but I'm going to see how this gets on, probably wait for it to come on sale. But if it's great, I mean, I know you're going to be talking about it, so if it sounds great and too good to miss, I probably will get involved, man. So it's I'm not hyped, but I'm sort of hyped by proxy, if that makes sense.
Right, yeah, I get it. Yeah.
I enjoyed the game enough that I'm looking forward to it, but not, like you say, not so much that I'm going to day one it.
A little bit of more good news in this article. As for Leon and his snarky one-liners, those will apparently also be included in the remake.
That should never have been a risk. They should that had to be in there, right?
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
There were people that I was reading in forums, particularly on Reddit, that were expressing concerns that given the sort of the tonal shift from original RE2 to RE2 remake, and the same then with Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, there were people that were concerned that Leon was going to kind of lose out on his attitude and he would be a bit more of a serious character. But it's nice to see that they're adding it in, although they do say that this aspect has been refined and further developed to feel like a, in quotes, thoroughly modern story-based experience. So I reckon it sounds like Leon's keeping his attitude, but it's not going to be quite the same. I don't think it'll be quite as cheesy as the original title.
I don't think I'm going to have a bromance with this Leon.
Probably not.
I don't think I'll dislike it, but it sounds to me like it's going to be maybe trying a bit too hard in comparison.
I need to put you on RE2 Leon. I think the RE2 remake Leon, he might be a bit more your speed. His RE2 Leon's cute. He's just a cute little puppy that just wanders around, and Ada's just like, hey puppy, I'm a sexy lady.
I'm gonna betray you at the end.
Okay, James, that's enough about Resident Evil. Let's move on to our second article of the day. Sony says the PlayStation 5 shortage is finally over. This was a message delivered by Jim Ryan during its CES presentation. In quotes, everyone who wants a PS5 should have a much easier time finding one at retailers globally, starting from this point forward. They did miss Christmas 2022 by that mark. However, this is welcome news, I'm sure, for a lot of people that have been struggling to get their hands on one. PlayStation now has 3 titles I should say 3 or 4 exclusives. Is Returnal's exclusive? I mean, Miles Morales isn't exclusive yet.
Not anymore. It's PC now as well, I know.
Yeah, right. So yeah, PS5 has
Ragnarok,
Returnal, Ragnarok, and Demon Souls.
Demon Souls, not Demon Hunter.
Yeah.
Oh, Astro's Playroom. Astro's Playroom.
But I mean, I don't mean to be mean to Astro's Playroom, but I'm going to be mean to Astro's Playroom. That's not a game.
Oh,
it's like saying that Wii Sports is like a
now hold on.
What your ass say?
Now hold on now. We'll leave Wii Sports out of this, man.
Okay, Mr. Bowling. But no, it's the game that comes with the console to showcase the console's capabilities. Sort of thing.
Yeah. You're all right. It's a tech demo. It's a tech demo. Yeah.
Good news regardless. I don't think either of us are particularly minded towards picking up a PlayStation 5 anytime soon. I think they have to pull something pretty extraordinary out of the bag. Maybe Jim Ryan finally gets his way and actually manages to pull an old switcheroo and actually picks up Activision, Blizzard, and Bethesda himself. And
it's too late for Bethesda, I doubt.
Sony finally puts enough money on the table that Phil Spencer is like, you know what, just take it.
Yeah.
Take Bethesda.
But then I like, ironically, that then like gives them the budget to actually buy Activision Blizzard. Like, just actually says it.
They agree. They're like, it's at this point, this divorce is extremely messy now. The children are being used as bargaining chips.
Oh man. So long as it doesn't affect Elder Scrolls 6, they can do what the they want.
If Elder Scrolls 6, if suddenly it did switch around in that nightmare and a completely improbable and impossible scenario, and it turned out that Elder Scrolls was only coming to Sony for the first year of its existence, would that tempt you to get a PlayStation 5? If Elder Scrolls 6 was a PlayStation 5 exclusive for a year?
If it was only for a year, probably not.
If it was exclusive forever, then?
Yeah, I'd have to, yeah. There's no other way. If it was only for a year, I'd be pissed, but I'd probably wait it out because £500 a lot for a game.
It's the sort of thing where you then get into the territory of like you go into the pre-owned market and stuff like that. You know, just if you're.
Oh no, I wouldn't though. If I'm buying a PlayStation 5, I'm buying brand new. How about you? You tempted at all?
No, definitely not tempted to pick up a PlayStation 5. I think that it's just kind of one of them ones where it's worth reporting on. I think that this.
100%, definitely good. Like, it's good news for people who have been trying to get one for forever, right? It's great news.
Kind of wild to think that it was November 2020 that the PS5 released, and we're now looking at just over 2 years since release that they've actually finally become available. You know, I can actually look online now and just get one ordered. Actually, hang on. Let's do a live.
Should we do that live? I'll do it as well.
Let's have a quick look on Amazon right now.
You do Amazon, I'll do like
Argos or some shit.
Yeah. Other retailers are probably available. But for God's sake, Argos, if you want to sponsor us, feel free.
There we go. Yeah, I can have a PlayStation 5 console and God of War Ragnarok on its way to me for Sunday on Amazon Prime.
Is that the PlayStation 5 console and God of War Ragnarok game bundle?
It is indeed.
Because I can get that for £539.99. They do have... Actually, do they have... Hang on.
Yeah, I can also see the digital edition. This is insane. The digital edition console is selling on Amazon for £587, but the disc and God of War bundle is £539, so a difference of less than 50 quid for the disc and God. This is that's like scalper prices, right? For the digital edition left over.
Right.
There we go. It truly is back on the shelves.
And I can order now for delivery tomorrow to my home address.
But you're still not tempted.
I mean, no, obviously not. It's January, man. Like, we got to make that wages last longer.
yeah, absolutely. So, James, I think it's time to move on to our third article of the day. Starfield fans think that the game may launch on the International Day of Human Spaceflight, April 12th.
Do they now?
Yeah, this is... so the date is purely speculative. However, it was confirmed earlier today that the official support page for Starfield has now been uploaded to the Bethesda website. So this is leading fans to speculate that the game is coming out very shortly, and I think that the International Day of Human Spaceflight is just one of those dates that someone's plucked out and thought, wouldn't this be a nice coincidence? And in all probability, they'd be missing a trick, right? The marketing team by not releasing it on April 12th, especially if they really are gearing up to actually get this game fully printed and ready to ship.
And we know that Bethesda does love a nice bit of marketing with their dates. Skyrim's release date 11/11/11.
Great point that 11/11/11. They do like their dates and their calendar specific things. So yeah,
exactly. And with this news that they've set up the support page for Starfield on the official website, I'd say it's probably quite a good suggestion that April 12th could be legit. What's that? 12/4/23? Does that Does that mean anything to anyone? Probably not.
Probably not. No.
But if it's the International Day of Human Spaceflight, yeah, I can see it.
So I did actually check this support page, and there is a, obviously top of the list question: when does Starfield release? And according to the support page, Starfield arrives exclusively on Xbox Series X and S and PC in the first half of 2023. So once again, in the first half of 2023, it correlates with that sort of date. So yeah, and I think your point about Skyrim landing on 11/11/11. So there is a precedent there that definitely lends weight to that. I've actually seen a little bit more footage of Starfield. I spent some time on YouTube earlier today just looking up a bit of the gameplay.
Fair.
And, I've got to say, in terms of the very vertical slice of gameplay that I did see, it's quite visually impressive. They've clearly done a much better job on the facial animations than they did in Fallout 4. The dialogue
is it? Let's be real.
Yeah, it's right. It's not a high bar, but it definitely
I love
looks
Bethesda,
like
but they're the worst of that.
They look like they've definitely modernized it to a certain degree, and they're really pushing the boundaries of that engine. In order to get that out of it. That's for certain. I was looking in terms of some of the depth of the quests and things like that, and obviously Todd Howard is doing his regular thing and talking about how much more depth there will be. I don't know if this necessarily means anything, but I read that there was something like 60,000 lines of dialogue in Skyrim.
Yeah, there's over 90,000 in Starfield, right?
250,000 they've just passed in.
Oh, is it? Oh, shit.
Yeah, now in Starfield. So yeah, so take from that what you will. A lot of that could just be alien gobbledygook.
And background noise, because certainly in Skyrim, when you're walking past the guards, obviously the famous arrow in the knee line, like they have lines that are just ambient.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's 1,000 planets, so
yeah, you need a lot of noises and sounds. Very interesting from a certain perspective, and depending on how you're going to interpret that could just be that there's a lot of useless dialogue, or that could mean that the quests are becoming a lot more complex as well. I've looked at some of the dialogue choices and things in the game, and they look quite interesting. You essentially have a point system, and you use up points for persuasion as you talk, and that, I suppose, dictates how far you can push someone and how much you can push someone in a certain area of the dialogue. I kind of got mixed feelings about it. I like to have a skill check based dialogue. I like to have the sort of the skill points that you have, but I think it works now perhaps that potentially if your persuasion or your charisma skill was high enough, then you would have more points to afford during the course of the conversation.
That's exactly what I was about to ask. Do you think that's
yeah, could be that. Could be that.
Which is, as you say, is I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm used to my persuasion is this, so therefore you're going to do a persuasion check against that.
I think at this point, when Bethesda break from the formula, we're all going to need some convincing to sort of get around it, because we are so familiar.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Starfield improves on it, man. And obviously, I'll be looking at Starfield very closely, because I love Bethesda and I love RPGs, but also because it's probably going to be a little bit of a breadcrumb trail to what we can expect from Elder Scrolls 6, which I'm obviously, we were talking earlier about how you don't get hyped for games very often, right? Elder Scrolls 6 is going to be a game that I'm incredibly hyped for, so any sort of clues I can garner from Starfield as to how it's going to be, I'll be looking at that closely.
From some of the gameplay footage that I've seen, it does look like it has a lot of similarities with Fallout 4. It's just presented differently in a way that makes it appear less like Fallout 4. But I was looking at just specifically small things like the way that you shoot someone and then they're sort of like falling over animation and things like that.
Yeah.
Very familiar. Very familiar looking gunplay to Fallout 4 as well.
I'm here for that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, honestly, from the gameplay that I've seen, I've kind of, talked some not so positive things about this game. We both have in terms of previous gameplay that we've seen, how rough it looked. The vertical slice. It is a vertical slice, but the gameplay that I did see today had me feeling a little bit more excited for this game. And, it's got a lot of similarities with No Man's Sky, which is a title that I've enjoyed. It looks like a more compact version of that, which can only be a good thing because I never managed to get anywhere in No Man's Sky. So, yeah, we can, we're turning up the hype on Starfield a little bit this episode. I'm feeling it now.
Yeah, I'll have to go check out some of this new gameplay, man. You've intrigued me.
Okay, James, on to our final article of the episode. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is likely to be the last major first-party title on the Switch, with Nintendo speculated to be announcing a next-gen console of their own in 2024.
Interesting news, this one. Not quite sure how official this is. I should probably say, we should say that off the bat.
It does say likely to be last major title, so there's not very much conviction in this. It's not confirmed to be last major first party. And again, it's major first party title. So what does that include? So we're thinking like Mario Kart, we're thinking, Super Smash Bros, we're thinking that kind of thing, like a Mario game. Are those considered major titles? Or
for Nintendo, yes.
What about like Luigi's Mansion 4, if that was a thing?
Probably, hey, that probably falls under the category of major first party Nintendo title, right?
I honestly, at this point, I don't know. Like, I own a Switch. I don't really know much, so...
Hey, I own a Switch, but I own it for Pokemon, right? That really is
you
all
own
I
a
buy.
Pokemon console.
Exactly. So no, I agree entirely, and it's interesting because where this has essentially come from is obviously Digital Foundry reported that Nintendo is no longer working on the Switch Pro, which has been speculated for quite some time. Probably 2-3 years, something like that.
Do you know what? We've talked, a little bit before the episode. Sorry to interrupt you there, James. But we talked a little bit on the episode last time about our plans for the New Year's episode, and that we might make some sort of predictions for the upcoming year.
And you were going to predict the Switch Pro, wasn't it?
One of my predictions was absolutely going to be that we'll hear news about the Switch Pro in 2023.
Yeah.
I was right. But it was about the confirmed cancellation of the Switch Pro.
Yeah, exactly. Potential confirmed cancellation. We don't know.
Potential, the likely confirmed cancellation.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because as I say, the Digital Foundry reported that they're no longer working on the Switch Pro and putting all of their time into a next gen console, because they don't want to do the sort of middle of life cycle half step upgrade. They just want to go straight into the new one. And the reason that this has sort of come back, because that story dropped probably last week or within the last couple of weeks, but that has now been corroborated by VGC reporter Andy Robertson. He retweeted Digital Foundry's video discussing the Switch Pro, saying, and I quote, "From what I'm hearing, I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo starts talking about new hardware by 2024. I'm not convinced another huge first-party game other than Zelda is left on the Switch." Now, because similarly, I don't really know what a huge first-party Nintendo title is, as you said. I would assume that this is talking about things like Metroid Prime 4, which is obviously incredibly sort of hyped.
Long time rumored to be in development and, being underway.
Exactly, and it's, the fan base are like ravenous for that game. It's been delayed, 3, 4, 17 times? It's been so many, I genuinely lose track. But other than that, I mean, I love Pokemon, right? Will I call that a massive, huge first-party Nintendo title? It's tough. I really don't know.
I mean,
it is, but it is.
Because Game Freak are owned by Nintendo, right?
That was always my understanding, but I don't actually know,
So it is first party then by definition.
It's Nintendo
right?
exclusive.
I mean, it's certainly Nintendo, but this is they could be a third party studio producing Nintendo exclusives, but I don't think that's the case. I think Nintendo are invested in Game Freak. So, I mean, it's kind of one of them ones. If Game Freak are working independently and are just sort of essentially contracted to working for Nintendo, then that's a third party game. But I'm pretty sure that Nintendo have their fingers in that pie.
It just says that they're a Japanese video game developer best known as the primary developer of the mainline Pokemon series.
I don't think they would be putting like their parent company in the blurb for them. Okay, Google. Are Game Freak owned by Nintendo?
Google it yourself, bitch.
Other than Metroid, I can't really think of any other huge first party Nintendo titles that are imminent.
No. Well, yeah, no. Now that Metroid is, according to VGC, that Metroid is likely to be out of the picture, then yeah, no, I think that probably is the last card that they had to play, really. Also, kind of exciting news, within the next year or two's time, we could be hearing about the next big Nintendo project. And so I'll be interested to hear about that. I'll be interested to know whether they'll be sort of retaining the whole combination between a dockable console as well as a portable console. I hope that they do.
I really hope they stay portable, for sure.
It would seem like an odd step backwards if they were to sort of go back to the whole one is a dock only console and one is a portable console, and they released two different versions. They kind of still did that. I know that you do own one, but I never really saw the idea behind the Switch Lite other than it being a budget Switch.
It's cheaper and it doesn't have stick drift.
Do they not? Because I heard that the Joy-Cons were made from the same materials.
May well be.
I haven't experienced any stick drift on my Joy-Cons.
I was going to say it may just be that I haven't, right? But again, going back to similar to what we were talking about earlier, though, I look after my Switch, so
right. You're not like treating it like and dropping it and
I don't let children play with it.
Never.
No.
Get your sticky fingers off.
No, literally, I think I let my de facto nephew play with it a little bit a couple of years ago, and he was being very aggressive. So I had to be like, yeah, I'm just going to take that back now.
yeah.
You know, like how kids can be when it's like, I want to go right, and it's like proper crunching, and you're like, dude, man, come on, I need that stick.
Yeah, this is and this was another kind of thing. Knowing that apparently the Joy-Cons are the same for the Switch Lite and the Switch, I was always also concerned, given that they're so notorious for stick drift, that buying a Switch Lite would obviously increase your chances of having to send it in for repair. You know, whereas there is that whole, just kind of, you can get a new pair of Joy-Cons and then send your Joy-Cons in for repair sort of thing. It's a sad state of affairs that you really, like, even if you are purely using your Switch as a single player thing, you probably want just a backup pair of Joy-Cons.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Just in case.
Well, that was my other sort of rationale behind getting the Lite, was I only ever intended to play Pokemon on it. Like, that is really why I bought it. I did play Skyrim on the Switch, because of course I did, right? Who doesn't want portable Skyrim? But Pokemon is what I bought it for, essentially. So having the budget price, something that's handheld, I was never going to plug it into the TV. For me, Pokemon is a handheld thing. So yeah.
Just in terms of this sort of, now potential rumors of hearing word of a new Nintendo console coming in 2024. Do you reckon they'll take on any of the build quality feedback that they received following the Switch? Are we actually going to see a sturdy as Nintendo console, like a return to Game Boy territory at survive a nuclear blast?
I want to say yes, but my heart of hearts, no, I don't think they will. I think that sadly it's cheaper to build stuff of a worse quality, and when you're doing mass production, and typically consoles tend to make a loss, probably want to keep that loss to a minimum.
But surely this Joy-Con repair stitch that Nintendo have got at the moment is a massive ball ache for them, because I mean they're even being extra lenient on getting those Joy-Cons repaired outside of warranty time. Even they basically had to just hold their hands up and be like, yeah, if you got Joy-Con issues, we'll just fix them, we know they're
Yeah, and from that perspective, I can see them improving things slightly, but I don't think that's going to see an overall build quality across the console.
Just enough to pass the bar, then.
Yeah, because you're always going to have things like stick drift that happens, because there are always going to be faulty batches. It's just going to happen.
PS5 controllers have the same issue, I've heard. They're just less publicised, but I've heard the
same
thing.
I've not heard that, but I can believe it.
I certainly know my PlayStation 4 controllers used to drift quite a bit.
About to say the same thing. I know one of my PlayStation 4 controllers is the right stick's gone. So I've been occasionally playing Bloodborne and then just like, why are you moving to the right?
Gotta say though, those Microsoft controllers for the Xbox One, those motherfuckers are
They're
sturdy.
great, aren't they? So good.
The only person I know that's managed to break one is my dad, and that's because, much like your de facto cousin or nephew, you can literally hear the plastic creaking as he's holding the controller. You can hear the plastic straining not to break as he crunches it in his hands. Other than that, though, I mean, I don't think I've ever had an Xbox One controller break on me. In fact, the console that I bought or rather I should say that I received as a gift maybe 4 or 5 years ago, that controller is still very much intact and good to this day, and that's survived me playing the Xbox One and now primarily using it on the PC for the last year and a bit.
Yeah, and the only controller I've broken from Xbox was nothing to do with the stick drift. I
just fucking pegged it into the ground.
No, it's worse than that actually, right? So whenever I do want to throw something, I'll throw it into the sofa because it's soft. And I had this like plastic thing on my sofa for like straight, like helping arch your back and stretching it out.
Oh, I know the thing.
Complete scam. Don't buy one, right? They don't work. But it was there, and I just threw my controller to the side in frustration, and the stick just hit it perfectly, and the stick just went.
Oh, dear.
This isn't good podcasting, but if I can get it to hand.
Wiggle the stick so they get some ASMR.
So I don't know if you can see this, Will, but
it's just the nub, is it?
How up that stick is, just natively.
Oh, it's stuck.
And I can just move it around.
Oh, dearie me. That does not
look
like
exactly
a happy
where I put
controller,
it.
James. Oh dear, there's no spring left in that bad boy, is there? Okay, James, I think that's enough news and speculation for this week. I think it's time we moved on to our new section, which we are currently Is this the working title or is this the agreed title?
I think it's the agreed title. I like it.
You think it's the agreed title? Okay,
if you're happy with that, I'm happy with that.
If we both think it's the agreed title, then let's go with it. So, welcome to the Completionist's Corner. Sting to be included at a later date. So this was a section that we discussed on the previous episode, where we will be essentially taking one game and playing through to an agreed point each week, and then coming back each week in this section to review the progress we've made, as well as talk about the type of experience we're having, gameplay mechanics, and hopefully, all of this combined will help us to build sort of like a painting painting, if you will. Allow me and James to paint you a canvas of the video games that we encounter each week.
Exactly. And sort of as we sort of touched on, think of it as a book club for games. We're going to bring games to the table, we're going to play them through, share experiences, have a laugh and a good time while we're at it. It should be fun.
With all of that said, James, I think that it's time to reveal the game that we'll be playing for the next few episodes. The first game for Completionist Corner is Mass Effect 1, the Legendary Edition.
Hell yes. Hell
so,
yes.
This is the title that I know that you have actually completed the entirety of the series, I believe.
Yep, I certainly have. Many, many, many moons ago, though, must be said. Been looking for an excuse to play it again.
And I've basically completed this a long, long time ago, or almost completed it. I'm pretty much there's the last 2 or 3 missions that I need to do. So I was right on the cusp of completing this. But
on one specifically,
it's been a long, long time
or
since
on
I
the
played
trilogy?
One specifically. I've put maybe about 3 or 4 hours into 2, and I've never played 3. So we have discussed previously, we will be getting around to playing 2 and 3 at some point. However, during this BioWare spell, we'll just be including Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And starting strong, because many consider it to be, don't know about the best game, but certainly among the best story. So very, very much looking forward to playing through Mass Effect 1. Looking forward to seeing what the Legendary Edition's about. I know that it's got all the DLC and stuff all included, which I never played. I only ever played base game of all of them.
It's quite some time, wasn't it, since the Legendary Edition released following the initial release back in 2007, I think. I'm just trying to think. Legendary Edition came out in 2021. Yeah, it's been a significant amount of time. Although I didn't play much of the later series, and I probably won't notice a lot of the graphical overhaul, if I'm honest. I think that it will definitely go some way in terms of me making sure I enjoy this one by modernizing it perhaps visually. Do you know if any of the gameplay aspects have been modernized in the original Mass Effect, or is it purely sort of graphical load times and things like that?
I don't know for sure. I have a feeling some of the Mako stuff isn't it? Mako, whatever the you call it. I have a feeling some of that isn't quite as tedious. But I don't know exactly. My understanding is it's mainly a graphical update.
Yeah, and I think they did some sort of remodeling of Fem Shep as well, who is so Commander Shepard is the protagonist that you play, but you can customize that character,
which we will be doing. I can assure you.
Okay, yeah. So are you going to be male Shep or Fem Shep? Have we decided on that yet?
I will probably be a male Shep of some description, but I haven't actually decided yet. I'm just going to free flirt.
I think I'm going to go Fem Shep.
I think the only thing we have sort of decided as sort of a criteria, if you like, is that I'm going to play Paragon and Will's going to play Renegade. I think that's about all we've sort of decided on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's probably a good way to do it. And I think that we should follow the Paragon/Renegade path as much as possible. I don't think that, I think that we should fully commit to that choice. That would be a really cool thing to compare as well, because I know that this game has a lot of those sort of decisions in the game. It'll be interesting to have a direct comparison as we play simultaneously as to what difference those decisions make.
It's going to be really cool.
So I think we should build a pretty rounded picture of this game.
And obviously, Will, I'm expecting you to make a nice custom character, because I know that you love a good creation suite. Be interesting to see what Mass Effect is actually like now, because the old ones were tricky, should we say.
Yeah, I don't think I ever made a good looking custom character on Mass Effect. If anything, one thing that they might have improved, and it'd be quite nice of them to, is the character customization. I'd like to have a bit more scope on that. Would be amazing.
Yeah. I made one, and it's the one I did the trilogy with. I fluked it.
I might make a monstrosity, considering I'm doing the Renegade class.
I'm just going to see what the mood takes me. We'll see how we get on.
I'll just read a little about this game from the Steam page. So, the blurb for this game reads: one person is all that stands between humanity and the greatest threat it's ever faced. Relive the legend of Commander Shepard in the highly acclaimed Mass Effect trilogy with the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm trying to find more of a blurb just for Mass Effect 1.
Well, if you want the TLDR of Mass Effect 1, you are Commander Shepard. You are looking to become a Spectre, and you want to impress the Council. So they send you on a top secret mission, but things go awry. Treachery afoot. Who's really on whose side? Is there an existential threat to the whole universe incoming? Find out more. Mass Effect 1.
That was pretty good. Was that on the spot?
Yeah, I literally just made that up, yeah.
I'll take it, man. That was a pretty sweet, pretty sweet blurb of the game right there. So we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
But no, this is something that I'm really looking forward to playing. I love me a trilogy. I love something to get really invested in and follow along with. Like a good storyline. I do like me some sci-fi, and I do like me a good RPG. So all of these boxes are ticked. Yeah, looking forward to sort of our follow-up discussion next week once we've found a place that we'll both settle and stop playing, and a good point to sort of start the discussion.
Absolutely, man. I've been looking to get into Mass Effect Legendary Edition for quite a long time, actually, and haven't felt I'd had the time, in all honesty, because it's a big investment. So to now have like the perfect excuse to start playing it, a section on the podcast. So yeah, I second that. I'm looking forward to playing this massively, man. It's going to be great.
Okay, man. Well, with that exciting announcement out of the way and a new chapter in our podcast underway, I think it's time we brought this episode to a close. Thank you for joining me for another podcast, episode 21, man. We're still here. We're racking up them numbers.
New year, same.
Yeah. On that note, you can, as always, find the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and pretty much anywhere else you get your podcasts by searching for Total Pod Mode. We also post regular video content of our playthroughs, stream highlights, as well as the podcast on our YouTube channel, Total Pod Mode.
You can also find us on Twitter by searching for @TotalPodMode, all one word.
Or you can find me at WhoDeFunk on Twitter, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/WhoDeFunk.
And you can find me on Twitter @Mr. Bames, and I'm also on Twitch under twitch.tv/MrBames_TPM.
As always, a very special thank you to our listeners. We're looking forward to bringing you another year of top tier, top quality gaming comedy content. We'll see you guys next week. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye bye.